Hey everyone, and welcome to The Squad. This is the Park Squad Pod, a podcast where four friends catch up and chat about all things Disney, day-to-day life, and more. My name is Tommy, and I'm your host for today's episode, and I'm here with the rest of the squad.
I'm Haley.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Heidi.
Welcome to episode 16. It is the summertime sitch with the squad. It's our summer kickoff episode. We're going to have some new news, sort of covering some upcoming events and movies from the Disney world, literally, and the Disney world more generally. And we're also going to dive into the water parks of Walt Disney World, kind of a perfect sort of summertime excursion. But first things first, welcome back, squad. If you're listening to this at home, and you're listening to these as they come out, it's been 2 weeks, but a little peek behind the curtain, it's been nearly 3 weeks since we've recorded. I think maybe even more than that. So happy to be back with the squad. Happy to be back in the studio. How's everyone doing?
I know. Clearly, we have a little bit of a different setting.
Yeah.
So we're a little more spread out geographically.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that we're 3 screens instead of the usual 2.
Yeah, we're turning into like the Brady Bunch here. I feel like
soon we'll just have.
Yeah, which is crazy. I feel like I'm like lost without Heidi beside me here.
Yeah,
I feel so awkward.
So bare.
But also now, like, our names had to switch on this. Like, if you're watching this on YouTube, now it just says Brandon and then Heidi separate.
Wow. See you later.
Separate but together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, that is because I'm down in Walt Disney World for Disney's cultural exchange program. And I've had like my first week and I'm all moved in. I got my name tag and my ID and I start training as of recording this. I start training tomorrow, which is the day that you're like watching or listening was yesterday on Sunday, which is crazy. And so
That's
exciting.
Crazy.
It's
I
crazy.
feel like you've been down there for forever, but also like it just happened so quick.
Yeah, like I think I've been down here for months, but I've been here for a week and I've got so much done, but also I haven't even started work. It's very bizarre, but I'm loving it so far. It's hard to be away, but I feel like this year me and Heidi were more prepared. I feel like we knew what to expect, and I feel like even though we still had some tears at the airport, I feel like it was
we're more stable.
Yeah,
we're more stable. I also think that it just like came all of a sudden and it just happened. Like there was no build up. It's here, it's happening, and it'll be over. But I'm glad that Brandon's there enjoying his time.
How are you holding up in Canada up there, Heidi?
It's good. I am busy with school, so honestly it's not been too bad because I just feel like I'm so busy that I'm just able to focus on that and then come home and like just get into a routine of like good habits of studying and exercising and doing my program, and then I'll be done in no time. So it's been okay.
And before we know it, we'll all be together.
Yeah.
On the West Coast.
I was going to say, we'll all be reuniting before we know it in California.
Which
is so fun.
Which is so like fun how that's going to be like the reuniting, like all 4 of us is Disneyland. That's
going to be feral
magic.
No better way to do it. Yeah.
No.
I know. I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, every time we plan something, it actually leaves the group chat. Like ours never gets stuck in the group chat. They always leave.
Yeah.
I love that about us.
Me too.
Cool. Well, we've got some stuff coming up between now and our trip to D23. So we kind of figured as our first podcast in our kind of new summer schedule, we can talk about some of that upcoming stuff. And then, like I mentioned, talk about the water parks as well and kind of try and advocate and encourage people to hit the water parks this summer because we're definitely all big fans. Yeah. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is a new drone show that is exclusive to Disney Springs called Disney Dreams That Soar. That'll be running from May 24th to September 2nd. So I guess that's the official Disney summer, hot off the presses, May 24th to September 2nd. But sort of what is everyone's thoughts about a drone show? Obviously, it's at Disney Springs, which is a little, I don't know, maybe not super ideal, but I think it's cool that we're getting, some drone shows in the US. I think this is probably the first one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that honestly, like at first, I think I was disappointed that it was at Disney Springs, but now you can go with no ticket. Like it doesn't cost anything to be able to see it, which I think is cool. I'm excited for it. I hope that it lives up to the ones that I've seen abroad because I think those are like just so cool. And I think Disney Springs has a ton of space. I don't know a ton about it. Like I don't know where they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's just like over that water between Disney Springs and kind of where Saratoga Springs is off over to the distance. I saw some videos of it and it seems more of like a static drone show where they kind of create a grid and then it's more of like a light projection show, but it's still really effective. But I know that some, especially at like even like baseball parks and stuff like that, the drones will be moving and that'll be kind of the show. So it's a little bit different. But that was just kind of my interpretation of it.
So it's almost like they turned into like LEDs up there to like make things.
Kind of similar idea. Yeah.
I think it'll be cool that you can see it. Like if you can see it from those resorts, I think it'll like add an extra like amenity that you can watch like the nighttime drone show from like Saratoga Springs, like you said.
Yeah. I also kind of think that it makes it like more worth it, or you're more likely to go to Disney Springs to maybe see this. I feel like for us, usually on our trips, like me and Heidi, we do Disney Springs like maybe once, if twice, but I feel like it's usually like our travel day that we hit Disney Springs. But I think that this could maybe be like, which we're talking about the water parks, if you didn't want to do like another ticket, you could do a water park and then Disney Springs and still get to watch like some kind of nighttime sort of spectacular thing, which I think is cool. And I feel like that lately the overseas parks are getting all the love and all of the like the news and stuff. So I feel like to bring something from over there that people love to here, I think is a really cool thing. And I think that it's probably at Disney Springs to like test it out maybe a bit better than putting it in a park, and it's just like an easier fit where there's like not really much kind of going on at that time. So I think for them, maybe it's kind of like that little testing thing, but I think that it's really cool. I'm going to try to go watch it, like hopefully soon enough when it starts, and kind of like report back. But I think that it is a cool, well-needed thing there where, like you said, Haley, even if you don't want a park ticket, you can still kind of enjoy like a Disney staple, which is a nighttime sort of show.
Yeah, I was excited when I first saw it. I saw like a post on Facebook and I sent it to Brandon because I hadn't heard about it. And I didn't know if it was true, but then it was true. And I think it's so cool because the ones in Paris, I've always been like, so I don't know. I just have seen it and I'm like, that is so cool. And I feel like I haven't seen anything like that. So it'll be cool to have that. Obviously like at Walt Disney World, but I personally was pretty like shocked when I saw that it was at Disney Springs, but then it makes sense like what you guys talked about. And I guess it would also be hard to kind of like, I'm thinking about like what park it would be good in, and then also like how it would fit, and then also like with like the land and like the behind the scenes of how they would like get it up into the sky from where, like I just wonder like if they did put in a park, which one they would put it into, I guess.
Yeah, I think that maybe they could, if like this works out well, putting it at nighttime in Animal Kingdom, like where Kite Tails was, would be cool because they can use like, I'm sure that they can put them on boats and then they launch from there or whatever.
Yeah, I think it gets tricky because from what I could see from the Disney Springs footage that I saw, they are pretty high up in the air, and I think that's where you run into issues, especially with like an Animal Kingdom or even a Hollywood Studios, is that it's all kind of closed in or kind of like branching off where there's not necessarily like a big open vista like where there might be there is at Disney Springs, obviously. I think Magic Kingdom is kind of a natural fit if they're kind of looking to sort of bring like a new sort of spectacular as kind of like a fresh one, since they went back and forth a little bit in recent history. But I think it's a cool thing, to offer, as Brandon, like you talked about, kind of an alternative nighttime spectacular that wouldn't necessarily require a park ticket. And if it goes well, maybe we'll see more sort of inclusion of drone related shows at night kind of across the parks, even if it's in maybe even a smaller sort of format at an Animal Kingdom or something like that.
And it feels like something they could change up more often, because obviously like fireworks are so involved and so expensive that like reworking a drone show feels like once you have the drones, like that's the big money spend. And then you can kind of rework it to fit like new movies or new events or like Star Wars night, like all those kinds of things that you can like change it to a theme.
Yeah, the drones don't explode at the end of every night.
No,
like fireworks do.
You can,
and I also think that it's interesting because I feel like that people love like the castle projections, which I do too. I think that it's like beautiful and awesome, and they can do lots with it. But I think that people's kind of like gripe with that is that you need the perfect view to see the projection, whereas if these are like really high up in the air, I feel like that you can almost kind of see it from any like vantage point. Like you'll be kind of all over and you'll just kind of see it in the sky, which I think is interesting. And I do think that if this like does go well, like I could see them doing something where they switch out some kind of nighttime show, whether it's like that like 100 years one that's at Epcot, maybe I think would be a good fit, because I feel like that at Magic Kingdom people love like a projection, love the castle, love like that fireworks stuff, whereas I feel like Epcot maybe could be like a seamless fit, whereas like I like the Animal Kingdom thing, Haley. I think that's a great thing because they have nothing there. But I think if they had to do this in a park, I think that maybe Epcot kind of seems like a fit.
Yeah, Epcot makes sense. I just wonder with the drones, like then they would have to make it like very symmetrical that like have to be like a circle, because if it's not, then when you're on one side you wouldn't be.
That's
Yeah,
true,
like it wouldn't work. So they would just have to like navigate that. But I feel like they could still do it. Like they can do anything.
Yeah, they can make it. They can make the magic happen.
They're Disney.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, excited for that. Excited to hear your thoughts, Brandon. Whenever you're able to kind of get over there and see
I
it.
got you.
And kind of
Do you
excited.
know when is it coming? Did you say
May 24th?
Oh.
It'll start. Yeah, they're testing
next
it.
weekend?
Yeah, they're testing it now, but a week from today, or a little like 6 days from today, it'll go live and it'll run through September 2nd. So tons
There
of
you go.
opportunities for folks
Yeah,
that are
and
down
Brandon, you got to go make sure you follow them on Instagram. I'm sure Brandon will post it
Oh,
on
yeah.
there and
Hear
post
about
it in
it
his
first, yeah.
vlogs.
There we go.
there. Breaking news.
Yeah, we do. We got a man on the ground at all
Man
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
now.
boots on the ground, absolutely. Yeah, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But next thing I had to discuss, and this one might be a little bit quicker because I know kind of in the past we've talked about it and been a little bit more removed because we want to kind of have some surprises. But Deadpool and Wolverine, the full trailer's out. Obviously, I've seen it a couple times. It's starting to get me pretty amped up. Releases July 26th. Like I said, I think it's a really good trailer, especially like that song, and I like the vibe that it's kind of bringing. Kind of curious to get everyone else's thoughts about it because it is Marvel. It's the only Marvel project this year, but it feels very Deadpool and necessarily doesn't feel super Marvel. So I'm kind of curious to see how it goes because it's leaning into Deadpool and sort of the X-Men and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like reacted to this on our channel, and then when I watched it, I was like, "Oh, this is like very vulgar and inappropriate to be reacting to," but I still did it because I was so amped. Like it just got me so excited, and I love Wolverine so much. Like my dad, when I was younger, he loved X-Men and would always watch it, and it was like that was his thing. It was X-Men and Star Wars, and I feel like Wolverine was just one who I just like loved because he is so cool and so different, and I'm excited to see them together. I love that like Hugh Jackman's coming back. I'm interested to see how they work in, because obviously right now is very like multiverse heavy and like a lot of stuff going on. So I feel like there'll probably be lots of nods to like the X-Men stuff and kind of like how that's going to go. I haven't like really seen anything other than the trailer, so I don't really know what's going on, and I hope that it stays that way for me, that I cannot be spoiled, but I'm excited about it. I feel like again that people have been so down on Marvel, which like rightfully so. Some stuff hasn't just hit, and I think if anything this could be the one to bring it back, but I do kind of worry a bit that it is like an R-rated thing. I think that the ones that have done good, like Avengers Endgame and all those, which obviously are way bigger, they don't have that like R rating, so kind of anybody can go to enjoy them. Yeah, but I do think that if like kids are going to want to go and their parents will be fine with it, they'll take them, I guess. I don't really know how we feel about that, but I'm excited that I'll get to see it here. I think it'll be cool to be here at Disney Springs and watch it, and I'm hopefully going to go right when it opens because I'm very excited about it, and it's going to be very spoilery, I feel like. So go check it out as early as you can.
That's true. I'm not even a big like Marvel X-Men at all person, but I'm excited to go see it nevertheless. And I also love Wolverine. I don't know why. I went and saw Logan randomly. I don't even remember why I saw it or with who I went, and I absolutely loved it. So I'm excited for this movie.
Yeah, I was like a big like X-Men fan because like when we moved into college, we had like no internet and we just watched those movies like on repeat. Like I don't know why we had like the DVDs of them, but that's like what we put on. But I think to your point, Brandon, like it is different, but I think it's good different. I think
agree.
that like making something, and I do think that parents are a little more lenient in what they let their kids watch, like because kids have so much exposure to the internet, which I don't think is always great. I think that they're already exposed to like all of the cuss words. So like hearing them like in a movie is not like as serious as it like once was maybe. But I also think that it is such a different vibe from like the multiverse stuff. Like I think it's going to be so different from that like good guy superheroes like always kind of doing the right thing to it's kind of like to almost like burnouts, like they're kind of like down on their luck, like which is usually like I don't know, I feel like the heroes are always at the top of their game and then they just like keep getting better, and here you have two like at the bottom of the barrel and they have to like come together and work together. So I think it's going to be super funny, which I'm excited for.
Yeah, I think kind of to tie on some of those points, like it being R-rated is definitely interesting. And like the Deadpool movies, the first two were sort of successful, but they were independently successful as kind of their own standalone thing, where they didn't really have to operate within a larger universe, especially a larger universe that is admittedly kind of geared towards people between the ages of, I don't know, like 11 and 14 or whatever, like 8 and 14. But I do think that, the element of it being kind of Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, who for all reports is kind of, this will be the last movie. Hugh Jackman, who was supposed to be done after Logan, is kind of like an interesting element to bring to kind of the current multiversal state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And kind of from what I understand, it's going to be very like cameo heavy, but it isn't clear kind of how that's going to turn out. And sort of past reports like Multiverse of Madness was rumored to be the same and wasn't necessarily the case. But I think this could be interesting in it kind of bridging together sort of the existing X-Men stuff from Fox as well as the kind of current Disney Marvel roster. And they do kind of just let the Deadpool movies kind of do whatever they want. So I think it's a really good opportunity to them, like, to kind of just have some fun. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm a little bit nervous that, it might just be like a little bit of a connector piece where they want to kind of just move the X-Men into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I also have faith in Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman to deliver a good time. So.
And I feel like it's already like kind of broken that fourth wall where they're like so self-aware. Like I feel like Ryan Reynolds is like, is Disney ready? Like, is Marvel ready for this?
Yeah.
And then like,
and that's like a big thing of the character, like even like going back to its origins. So I think that I think it's like a good fit to kind of get rid of the stuff that you don't want. Like I know like the Kang stuff is like a whole sort of separate, issue amongst itself, but kind of discard what you don't want, bring in what you are trying to incorporate in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and stuff like that, and kind of, really bridge that gap. And hopefully they're able to do that in a successful way. Cause I'd like to get back into Marvel and it would be awesome if this is like a cool kickstart to the next kind of phase and era of those movies.
Yeah. And maybe once we all watch it, we can do a little like recap episode on it.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
I like the way you think, Haley.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question for R-rated movies. Do you have to have a parent to let you go in, or are kids not allowed to go in? Like, how does it work?
I mean, technically you have to be 17 or older or with an adult.
Okay.
But I don't know. I can't, like, our movie theater, because now that you don't buy tickets, like you buy them online.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
The little ladies checking those tickets and like scanning your thing. Like this is not me giving you ways to get in if you're not 17. But I can't imagine somebody going, whoa, you've already purchased a ticket. Like you're not allowed to go. I think
because I think about like when we were younger, and I remember that like that was like a thing where like you weren't able to like get into movies and stuff, even if they were like whatever, the like 14 and up or 13 and up and stuff. But now I guess you're right. It's a different time.
You had to like go to the counter and they're like, how old are you? And you're like 12. And they're like,
And I feel like if you're a parent, you'd rather like have your kid go or bring your kid to a superhero movie with like actors that you recognize instead of them at home like watching Skibbity Toilet or whatever. Like, get them out of the house, get them watching something with real people in it. It's not like a Twitch stream or something.
Gosh.
And it's also
younger listeners, I guess.
It's also just nice, I think, that like obviously they kind of had no choice to go full R because that's what Deadpool is. But Disney could have been like, we can't do it because it is still like owned and operated by Disney. Like it's under the Disney umbrella, which like really doesn't kind of do this kind of stuff at all. So I think that it's nice how they're doing it. I give you props, Bob, for letting them go full R, because I think that it's going to make it worth it. And I think that if they didn't do it, people would have not been happy. So I'm so glad, because I think that Disney always gets kind of like a bad rap for like stuff like that where they don't really push a limit. So I'm glad that they're doing it, because the people who love it will love it. They can poke fun at lots of Disney stuff, which I think is funny. Like, and Ryan Reynolds is just like the perfect guy to be kind of poking fun at Disney, because he is like a wholesome family man, fun guy, but he's this character who's kind of not the same. So I think that it's very cool. It'll be great. Yeah,
they're definitely leaning into kind of what made those movies and what made that character and Ryan Reynolds in that role successful. So really looking forward to it, and hopefully it's a good success later in the summer. Staying in the movie realm, the newest release from Pixar, Inside Out 2, also coming out shortly in about a month, June 14th release date. I think this is something that we're all pretty excited for. I don't know our thoughts on the original, but I did, before sort of opening up and getting everyone's thoughts, I did want to touch on a couple things that stuck out to me, and it's primarily casting related. Sort of in the original, Fear and Disgust were played by Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling, respectively. They are not returning. I was watching the trailer and I was like, is that Tony Hale playing Fear? And sure enough, it is Tony Hale playing Fear. And Disgust has been recast by Lisa Lapira, who I'm not as familiar with. I believe she's more of a TV actor. No slight there. It's just kind of what her recent work has been. But also sort of, I think a big reason for that is possibly the additions of Maya Hawke and Ayo Idabiri as Anxiety and Envy, respectively. So I think it's kind of it's a decent swap, especially with kind of how big Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling have become in the last 10 years. But I kind of hinted this to Haley this morning off pod that she might not be super thrilled about some of the news. So
I don't know if you guys know, I'm like a huge Mindy fan. Like, I love Mindy Kaling. I'm disappointed. I'm glad that Sadness is not recast. I think that would have like kind of
Phyllis is back, baby.
Yeah, I think that would have done it in for me a little bit, but it is disappointing because I feel like you get to know their voices like so specifically as characters that when it changes, it does kind of change the vibe a little bit. And I think that Bill Hader was so good, and I think that Mindy fit perfectly.
Yeah.
And like you said, like I don't know either of these actor/actresses that are coming in, so like I can't really like.
Tony Hale is Forky.
Forky,
He's from Arrested Development and Veep. You would probably recognize. He's in like a iPhone commercial, I think, or an Android commercial. You would notice him in. But I think a big reason for that, and sorry to cut in when Brandon and Heidi, you can talk.
No,
about
you're
this
good. You're good.
I think a big reason will likely be, they've even alluded to it in the trailer, they're kind of like suppressing the emotions as Riley becomes a teenager. So I think it's very likely that fear and disgust will just play a very reduced role, and they didn't necessarily want to cut the check for, big and famous Bill and Mindy.
Yeah,
that makes sense, but still sad to see them go, but excited for the movie.
Yeah, I saw like an article that did say that they lowballed both of them, and then they were just like, nah. Like then they said, okay, we'll just have somebody else. Which like I do like agree with you, Haley, that I think like when these animated voices, even if they're like a minor character, like I feel like that it is sometimes like a bit weird because it's like you get to know this character. Like if they had a different character playing like just anybody, even if it was like a small Toy Story character like Slinky Dog or Rex and stuff, like I know that stuff changes where sometimes people have to take over roles if like people can't do it anymore, but like this one just like they're still here and able to do it, so it just kind of sucks that it's like either they lowballed or they didn't want to do it or whatever. But I'm excited. Inside Out's not one of my like top favorite ones, but I do cry every time at the Bing Bong part. I think it's so emotional, and I am glad, like you said, that it's like joy and sadness are back as the same voices, because they're the ones I think that will probably of the original emotions be most in this movie. So then it makes like a lot of sense, like you said, Tommy, where those will be the two probably, and then these newer ones that are coming in I think is going to be good, and it's going to be interesting. I think that this is one of those things where like Riley's older and has new emotions. I think it's very like relatable to people, and also people that maybe watched this movie when they were like a bit younger, maybe like now they're older, so maybe this is like a good fit where maybe they're kind of around that age or a bit older where this is kind of stuff that's happening to them. So I think that it's going to be really good. And I know that me and Heidi talked about this, that we're both excited for it, and we're not, like I said, like super big into the original one.
Yeah. Like Brandon said, we're not super big into the original one, but I'm really excited for this one, and I'm glad that we're getting like like I feel like recently they've been making like new movies that maybe haven't hit with people very much, but I feel like it'll be nice to have like a part 2 to a movie that people love. I think it'll draw people in, and I think that like kids and adults will be able to both enjoy it and like both take things away from it. So I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, that was one of my big takeaways as well. I'm excited that it's not a Pixar movie geared specifically towards adults, because I think like the last 4 maybe have been Soul, Luca, Turning Red, Lightyear, Turning Red, and Luca are geared towards kids. I preferred those out of the 4, and Soul and Lightyear were the 2 kind of very, in my opinion, adult centric, and those are the ones that I did not enjoy as much. So it'll be nice that even though Riley's older, it's still like a movie geared towards kids with parents in mind. I think is kind of, that's the sweet spot.
Well, and I think that like they may have had to lowball them too, because they have not made a ton of money on the movies that have come out recently.
Exactly.
And so you don't have like the backing from your last like 4 big movies to pay your lineup.
Yeah, very, very possible.
Like I'm also glad that we're in the sequel era. I feel like that people are not happy about it, but I just like, again, I think that like Disney has so many brands and stuff that people just love, and I think that it's great how we get a sequel. And I think if a sequel doesn't work to like beloved movies, then nothing's gonna work. I feel like we're just gonna like, I don't really know what's gonna happen. So I feel like that's why that they're really like leaning into that. I saw like Bob Iger talked about how like in the parks, there's going to be lots of IP stuff. Like I think that we're in that era of we kind of got to get back to what's worked for us in the past, and that's hopefully some sequels to movies that people love. Like Inside Out's a very popular Pixar movie. People love it. It's like it's in the parks in some kind of capacity. Like there is merch for it, but I think that it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I think until you have maybe some new blood out there in that like Disney animation, Pixar animation with like some fresh ideas that are really, really hitters.
Yeah.
I think like we've got to stop like swinging the bat a couple times, like definitely go with what you know is going to work and then just sit on it and wait until you have something like that's really, really like a Toy Story, like one that you know is just going to be like a forever like staple in people's homes.
Yeah. I mean, there was a big kind of personnel shifting behind the scenes at Pixar from kind of their heyday to the more recent ones. Obviously, don't need to go into like in depth there, but it is like a bit. It was a big shuffle with some of the creatives there. Now Pete Docter's one of like the big ones. I think he's like the head of Pixar Studios. But I still, I agree with your point where they kind of need to get their feet under them at this point and, establish the talent and kind of get put in new directions. And, in the meantime, if you're expanding on properties that people already really like, I think that that's a good way to kind of bridge the gap until we are in a spot where they're able to churn out, a fresh, a new movie every year. If they have to go back to the well a couple times, no worries for me. There's 4 good Toy Story movies. I'm sure the 5th one's going to be good. So as long as they're good, right? Like I don't care if it's characters that I enjoy. Like that is a win-win for me. All right. Last but not least, I think this is the one I'm probably most excited as kind of an upcoming event for this summer, and probably most apt and most thematically appropriate for this podcast, the Park Squad Pod, is Tiana's Bayou Adventure will finally be opening June 28th. With previews starting on June 13th. So coming up, we're going to start getting some impressions of the ride in general. I think this is one of the things where the more we learn and the closer we get, I've just been getting more and more excited. And I think at this point, I'm like fully bought in. And while I will always miss Splash Mountain, I don't think that I have much sadness left at all. I think I'm kind of all in right on the Tiana train. We've left the station and you better hop on now because I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it looks so good in person. I was there the other day and they were working on stuff in the queue, like installing some lights and different stuff. And just like the whole vibe over there, like the murals on the wall, the store signs look so good. Like is it called like foliage? Like all of the flowers and all of the grass and stuff, like the moss looks so good. And just like being there in person to see how it looks so different than Splash Mountain, which I think is great because like obviously Splash Mountain looked cool and it was that whole thing of like the briar patch and stuff, but this just looks beautiful. And when I was there, they were ride testing. There was like Imagineers on it and they were just like so happy. They were doing thumbs up and I was like, I want to be you. And they were just like sending those logs down and it just looks really good. And they announced for us that we get to on the 20th, like go on our hub to try to get cast member previews. There's only, I think, like 6 or so days for cast previews. And I know for annual pass previews, like they were gone quick for like the park reservation days were gone. And then it's like a system where like you have to be here and try to get like a virtual queue for it on those pass holder days. Mm-hmm. So you're not even guaranteed if you book to come here as a pass holder, you could come here and show up and try to get a virtual queue and then not get one for that day to like do a pass holder preview. So I think that it's going to be big and they've obviously like announced that it is going to be virtual queue. So I don't know how that'll work with that and Tron in the same park being both virtual queue, but it looks really beautiful. Like fingers crossed, I'll get a cast preview and get to ride it because I'm
yours on virtual queue, right? Like you'll get like a time and day that you get to go.
Yeah, because as cast members, we're blocked out of Magic Kingdom for all of June and all of July.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
I guess it makes sense though, because they know that like it's not obviously people are going to get in line and be there's going to be no shortage of Magic Kingdom.
No. So 2 months I'll not be at the Magic Kingdom. Crazy.
Goodness, that castle in Disneyland is going to look bigger if you're not used to seeing the other one.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm glad to see. Oh, sorry, Heidi. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
I was going to say, I'm glad to see that you said that it looks so good from the outside, because I was a little bit nervous that it would look kind of the same, just with some like greenery added. So I'm glad that it like looks very different, even though clearly it's the exact same structure.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like I've been kind of looking at like what they post, but trying to kind of avoid it because I feel like I don't want to have any spoilers. But I feel like I'll spoil it because like when am I going to Disney World? I don't know. So like how am I not gonna see it? But I'm glad to hear too that like it looks cool because I feel like it probably looks better in person than it does on what they show. And I think that it's gonna be really, really awesome. The animatronics are gonna be sick. I just feel like it's just going to be so cool and so immersive and so different, which is like awesome.
Yeah, and I just think it's going to be so popular. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
a princess attraction. It's a super long attraction. It's like full of animatronics. There's some thrill to it. Like, it's going to be Splash Mountain, which people liked and was probably like a 50, 40, 60-minute wait around there usually, right? But I think if this opened to like an actual wait, like I'll
We're
get
hitting
soaking
Flight of
wet to
Passage
ride
over
this.
here.
Yeah, like I don't want to get wet. I'll get soaked to ride Tiana's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
100-minute minimum, I feel like.
I agree. I think for the first year, it's going to be like, like an hour, like 2 hours is going to be your wait unless you can get a virtual queue.
Agree.
Yeah, I think that, hearing about how good it looks from the outside is really encouraging as well, because Splash Mountain was a good ride, but outside of kind of being able to see the drop and then the ride itself, there wasn't really a ton being offered. Like the space back there was not utilized in a way that really made you want to hang around. And it's a significant chunk of real estate kind of back there where the queuing occurs.
When they have that play area.
And the play area is gone forever. But like even the store was super lackluster. Like there's no reason to like hang around back there after you got off the ride, where I feel like that might not necessarily be the case here. And kind of one of the sort of specific ride concerns that I saw voiced on the internet was kind of the sort of cool aspect of dropping into the Briar Patch itself. And not to get into spoilers, because I know there are a lot of people that want to go in there fresh. I think that a lot of that concern will be addressed kind of like from what I've seen. I think that there is going to be like a strong element throughout, and it's not just going to be like a Tiana reskinning of the ride where the bones are the same and they kind of just slap new animatronics in there. It does really seem like they're bringing, pizzazz and like sort of focal points to the ride, and like really doing their due diligence to replace what was like a cult classic, kind of Disney ride for 30 years or so.
Yeah, well, I think you have to. Like, I think if the story doesn't make sense, people are going to be upset because they took away like one of their favorites, even though it's not their favorite because they really like any of like the characters from like, I don't know, from like before. It's just because it's been in the parks forever.
Yeah.
But I think that when you did this, they knew that they had to do it right, or people are going to be very upset.
Yeah, and she's like a super popular princess. Like people love her, and like I said, like the whole vibe is so different. Like I'm excited for you guys to come and see, because the vibe, like it's very beautiful. It's very colorful. Like I said, there's huge like big murals all over the walls, like with all the characters and stuff. And there's like little like elements throughout, like even like in the entrance to the store, there's like that little window and there's like a poster for the band of animals. And it just like seems like they've kind of like put up shop here. And it's very like, I feel like you feel it's a very different vibe. And they kind of announced too that for like a limited time, they'll do beignets there, which is good. So I think that they're really leaning into the Tiana factor in Magic Kingdom, which is good that she has a place to be, because again, like a lot of overseas parks have been getting tons of princess stuff, and it's nice that over here we're going to get some princess love of a princess that people love.
Yeah. And it's cool that she and kind of the movie in general is getting a second life in the parks as well, because it being the last 2D animated movie from Disney Animation Studios, like a sequel is not really on the table unless they decide to translate it to kind of the 3D computer animation, which I think would be kind of jarring to really translate that character from like what she looks like to what, say an Anna and Elsa would look like. I don't know if that one-to-one works. So it's cool that that movie gets to kind of live on, and we get to, revisit those characters in the parks if, a movie is not on the board in the near or even distant future.
When like you said, like people love it. Like there's no reason that she doesn't have her own space in this park. Like I think that like no one's going to be like, like I don't really like Tiana. Like my kids don't like her. Like we're going to skip this ride. Like I don't think that is ever happening. I think like kids see that, know it's Princess Tiana ride, and it's like a demand that they're going to go on it, like that they'll get there. But Tommy was joking that I should take off work and go for the preview. But now I'm glad that we're not even annual pass, because that would have killed me if we could have gone for annual pass, but then it was virtual queue, so you can't go. Before we like arranged to take off work when we got a virtual queue so that we could go up for the day.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I feel like that, like, and again, I've never been a pass holder, but I feel like before it was just like you picked a time or something. No, like you just
Pretty much,
got a
yeah.
Yeah, if
time.
you
Yeah,
got
you
in
had available.
early, like, and it was like there's a chance you weren't getting it. Like
It
the
was-
virtual
yeah.
queue was like kind of crazy. Like I was sitting at work doing it, like so
Yeah.
stressed out for
It-
Tron.
It was hectic, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't even like a top 3 hardest kind of thing to get. Like any Run Disney ticketed event, D23 ticketing was
Yeah.
way harder. Like those were both like way more hectic, way more waiting. This, like you waited, you queued for a little bit, and then
And you
you
can
had a
plan your
couple
day
days,
around
and
it.
yeah, you get sort of hour-long or 2-hour-long time slots that you kind of pick and choose from. Or this, it seems like it's a fight.
You have to take a day off of
get in
work
the
and then
door,
go and
then
try.
you gotta
Well,
try again. So
Like, and I heard that there's people that have booked up multiple park reservations for Magic Kingdom to try to get it, so other people then couldn't even get a reservation for the park.
Yeah.
So there, it's just a lot of stuff. I feel like there's no perfect way to do these kind of things because it just, like, no matter what they do, there's always going to be some kind of issue or some kind of like way that people kind of like work around it. But I just hope that I can get a cast member preview. I know that there's obviously so many cast members, and for 6 or 8 days or whatever there is for previews, like it doesn't seem like that many, but I guess that they're going to run them all day, so maybe it works out. I just hope like that I get one. Like I know that I'm training that day, so hopefully they're in the morning and I can just get it. And if not at work, I'm going to say, Christine, do you want to try to get a preview, because we both want to ride it, I'm sure. So
yeah,
No, I
definitely
think
tell-
you'll get it. And the nice thing about these is that it's not like a D23 or Run Disney where if you don't get it, you don't get to participate. You just have to wait until
You
the
have to
ride
wait,
opens,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
you can go.
100%.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, some exciting stuff happening, for the rest of the summer. Big summer of Disney, capping it off with D23.
yeah.
But obviously throughout the summer, check back in here every 2 weeks, and we'll certainly have opinions about all the things that we talked about so far.
Yeah.
Good, bad, hopefully all good. I'm thinking they'll all be good, but we'll have opinions one way or the other.
Yeah, seriously. As long as Brandon gets a preview, we'll get to check back in on these.
Yeah,
Every
we can-
single one of them gets
Periodically.
done in the
Yep.
summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Touch
I
on
love
all
it.
of them.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but between waiting on all those release dates, got to sort of get out of the sun, have some fun this summer. And one of the big things that I know the 4 of us all sort of super strongly advocate for in the Disney internet space is the Disney World water parks, specifically Typhoon Lagoon, both from personal experience and just availability. Blizzard Beach is constantly closed temporarily, so it's just not going to be touched on as much. But I have been to Blizzard Beach, and they're very similar. I think I prefer Typhoon Lagoon, but it's not drastically different. It's kind of it's a water park, right? And it has its own specific elements, but you're not kind of missing out if you're only able to do one versus the other. But yeah, I don't know, like great rides. There's some cool food. I think that there's something that I know people are nostalgic for in sort of the standard parks, which is independent kind of individual theming specific to the parks, where Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach are kind of purely unique ideas and like intellectual properties in a sense. And they have the 2 alligators, Laguna Gator and Ice Gator, which I'm a big fan of. So you get to have some characters that aren't from a
I have
movie.
them.
Yeah, Blizzard Beach.
Have
Park.
my cup.
I
And
love
then
it.
there's the gator.
That's awesome.
So like I said, I think the water parks have a lot to offer. I know we're all big fans. So this is just going to be kind of us preaching the good word of the Disney water
Converting
parks
everyone.
and trying to get everyone who's going to be in Walt Disney World this summer to take at least one day and take a splash, take a dip.
They've made it easier now because we've touched on this before, but now in your check-in day, if you're staying even for just one day, you can check in, and on that day you can get a free admission to the water parks, which is nice.
Yeah.
So I think if I were planning a trip to Disney, I would definitely be trying to get that morning flight or drive in the morning. Even I was talking about like I definitely want to go down and see Brandon this summer, and I thought about literally staying at a different hotel, like because the drive is like 10-ish hours, like 8 hours. And so obviously I can't leave in the morning and get there while the park is still open. I said, but maybe I'll just stay in like an off-property hotel for the first night and then check in the next day so I can go the whole day at the water park for free.
Yeah.
But that's definitely on there. And I do think I would like to see Blizzard Beach because they just added like the Frozen kind of stuff. Like they have that little like splash pad area that has like Anna and Elsa's kids and like all of the little snowball men. So I'm excited to see that. But like you said, like it is like totally independent from all of the other like IP from any movies.
Yeah, like kind of the general theming is super independent to those
Yeah.
parks.
Well, like, yeah, I'll let Heidi go because Heidi, this was one of her things that she had dreamt for trips and trips of like, can we go to the water park? And I was like, no, we're not. No, just kidding. We just never went because it just never worked. And I feel like it was because of the fact that on a travel day or like an off day, you went to Disney Springs because you didn't want to buy like a park ticket for us. So, but you have loved it, Heidi, and ever
Yeah.
since now it's like a must do.
When was our first time when we all went together? Was that the first time that we went to the water park? Brandon?
That was the first time that me and you went together. I had been before, but that was my first time in such a long time.
Okay, yeah. I feel like that really just like solidified our love for the water park. I am like a water park girly through and through. I love summer. I love water. I love like thrill stuff. So for me, it's like every element put together in like the perfect little package. So I was very like on board already because even if it was like not exceptional, I would still be having a good time. But then when we went, I was like so pleasantly surprised because first of all, I feel like this is like they first of all like let you wear like Crocs if you want to, let you bring like phones and like waterproof cameras onto like these attractions that are not like low-key attractions, so you can actually like capture the moments. And if you go in the morning, there's like no lines for anything. Like it's just you in the water park having a good time. And Florida's hot and it just feels like a time where you can like go and just like relax. And even though it's like go and like you can go do attractions, you still feel like you're like relaxed and rejuvenated, and it just feels like you're kind of like getting away from Disney, but it still feels like Disney at the same time. So
well, like, and it's also bizarre because you'd think that if you did a water park day in the middle of your trip, you'd be exhausted and it would just like take everything out of you. But it brought us back to life that time that we did it. And like we've obviously vlogged a lot of stuff. Like one of my favorite vlogs ever is the vlog of all of us at Typhoon Lagoon. I watch that so often. I think it's so funny. And I just think like the vibes there are so high. The food is actually good for what it is of like water park food. You can get your little refillable cup there and bring it back and reactivate it and just like share that cup. There's just a lot of good things about it. And I feel like now that, like you said, Haley, how they have that at the beginning of your trip, like I think that now your perfect day could be if you got like an early travel day, go to the water park for a bit and go to Disney Springs and watch the little like drone show. I feel like that's a great summer day. Like, and it's hot here. And it is like, it's not like there aren't good attractions. I feel like there are really good attractions. We on this pod love a family raft ride. That's our, I think, personal
Misadventure
favorite.
Falls. Yep.
Yeah. I'm not a body slide person because then it's the standing up from the body slide. I just like can't be bothered to have anyone see me do that.
No, it's too embarrassing.
Yeah. Even getting out of a tube, I'm like, nobody look at me. I don't want to see, which is so funny. But it's just so great. And I feel like now that we've done it, it's like a must do. I feel like if I had to tell someone like a must do, like hit the water park, and especially now that it's like free, like it's great.
Well, and I think that even if you go that first day of your check-in, if you're there for like at least a week, you still should go halfway between. Because like you said, like you would think it would be exhausting because like you're out in the sun and you're doing stuff, but like getting a break from being on your feet is such a game changer. And I think you still get to like have fun and do all these things, but there's never really a time except for like the rides, which are from 45 seconds to like max 2 minutes long at Disney, that you're like actually up and off of your feet. You're not walking around, you're not waiting in lines. And the lines, I don't know, the longest one we waited in was probably 20 minutes.
Yeah. And they do occasionally get up there, but they're maxing out, absolutely maxing out at like, I don't know, 40, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
but like,
that's like a really, really busy day, which doesn't happen often, I don't think.
Like Heidi said, if you can get yourself up and get to the park, like you can knock out everything and then spend like 2 hours in the wave pool.
And the lazy river,
and then the lazy river, which is a little bit cold, but other than that, no complaints. But I think that like it is really such a relaxing time. And like, I don't know, it's just so like, I think everybody here has said it. It was so unexpected.
Yeah.
But now it's like a weird cornerstone in like our like Disney hearts. Like it like stays there forever and lives there forever. And like Brandon said, like the food is good. Like it's totally serviceable. There's like specific things that you can only get there. Like they have, I know one thing that we get now is they have these like hot, freshly made little donut bites. And they're like these cinnamon sugar
tiny little donuts. Yeah.
And they're so good.
They're really good. Yeah.
And if you go, like we went the last time we went, it ended up downpouring and we
It
actually
did.
had to leave.
Yeah.
But it was kind of nice because like the water is going to be the same temperature no matter what.
Yeah.
And so if it's overcast, there was nobody there. We got like a little hot chocolate and like some of those donuts in the morning because it was a little bit chilly. But it ended up being so nice. Like it's just so much less busy and you still get the magic of Disney. Like
Yeah.
everything's clean, everything feels safe, the food is good. Like where I think sometimes if you go to like a generic water park, you don't have that same feeling. Like the bathrooms are kind of gross and like it's kind of like I don't know if this water is good, but
Yeah.
it's still like you get the comfort of being at Disney, but it's like totally different than the 4 parks.
Yeah, and there's just something to be said about, it's hot out, your feet probably hurt, so you kind of just like lumber into the wave pool. You let the water get up to, I don't know, like mid waist, even neck level. You're practically weightless at that point. You've got a nice protection of cool water, keeping the sun from getting you too hot, and then you're able to kind of pop in and eat some chicken tenders and French fries that are hitting way better because you haven't been standing out in the 95-degree heat all day, and you swam up a little bit of an appetite. I just think that overall it's like, it is one of those things where it's totally unexpected, but I think once you do it, you're just like, oh yeah, this is like a really good time. And it doesn't need to be like a full day dedication, especially if you're getting admission for free, right? You can hang out for 2-3 hours and head back to your hotel or whatever, go grab a meal somewhere else, and you still feel like you got a great activity in, you made a lot of good memories, you had a lot of fun, but you didn't, waste half of your park day or anything like that, leaving and having to bop back later. So.
And even if you do pay for your park ticket, it's significantly cheaper. Like if you pay for your ticket to the water parks, it's significantly cheaper than paying for admission to the theme parks.
Yeah.
Which I think helps. And I know that you can rent chairs like / cabanas.
Yeah.
But when we went, we didn't do that. If you just get there earlier, you can just put your stuff at a chair and like nobody touches it. And they have lockers for you that you can put like your valuables in, because you obviously don't want to leave like your phone and your wallet out. But like if you put your towels down and like leave your like clothes if you're going on the rides and things like that.
Old Navy flip-flops.
Exactly. You can get like great seating. You can get it. There's some in the shade. There's some that's like right out in the sand. And I think that like you don't have to pay the extra to sit in like the rented chairs, and you will definitely get a seat as long as you don't get there at like noon.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Heidi.
I was just going to say, and I think it's so smart that Disney did the thing of like, you get free admission on the first day, because I think it will draw people in to try it. And then I think like the same experience that we kind of had after that, it's going to be like, okay, we need to do it every time. And like, we're willing to pay for it. And I think that kids will like definitely be like, if you go once, they're going to be like, we want to go again. Like, we want to go to the water park. So I think it's so smart, because it's like, oh, okay, perfect. You can take your kids there. They're going to have a blast. They're going to run all their energy out, and you're just going to like kind of take them around, and they're kind of like more free to go do as they please. So I think it was like really smart on their part, because I think it's going to draw like a lot of people in. And I really want to go to Blizzard Beach. I don't know why it's always closed. I just had to say that. Never been. And it looks so... it looks so cute.
Plan a trip around the Blizzard Beach openings, and
we'll have to
make it a point to get down there.
Yeah.
I do think, like, I was gonna just add to Heidi, because I think she made some really good points, but it is so much less stressful than the park. Like, I have to imagine that bringing like 3 kids to the water parks, you just have like a level of calmness that you don't have at Magic Kingdom.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's fun and magical and great, I think that it's just a little bit more relaxing, because like you said, like your kids can run around and they can yell, because that's kind of what it's made for. Where like at Magic Kingdom, there's so many people, and really they like can't be running around, and like there are some rules that don't exist at the water parks, that it's kind of just a little bit less stressful.
And I think the fact that you don't have to wait in a line to do all of the fun things, like there's fun stuff you can do at the water parks that you just walk into the pool or you walk into the lazy river. You don't have to necessarily queue in order to do that thing.
No. Yeah. Like, and I was doing this because you'll be hooked. If you go one time, you're hooked. I also think that I like how they do lots of like little things, like you can pin trade there. Like Stitch meets at Typhoon Lagoon. You can get like a picture with him. They do photo pass throughout the park. Like, there's lots of things I think that you get a really good value out of a water park ticket, because you can do a lot of the same stuff that you could in the park, like pictures and pins and stuff, but you just like do them there. And I always have wanted to go to like an H2O glow
Me
I think
too.
that would be so fun, like a nighttime one. And I'm going to have to go to one because they told us with our main gate park ticket that we don't get water parks on our Castlemember park ticket.
What?
They're like, no, you don't get them. And I'm
So
sure
they gave your free passes to everybody checking in for the first
exactly.
day.
How much is that to add on? So now like I'm going to have to get a discounted H2O Glow cast member night and go because I love the water park. And I did it last year. Like we went with some friends and it was lovely as just like a fun off day, but I can't do it. And I want to say one last thing that we did on our last trip was we went to the Halloween party, but in the morning we went to the water park. And I think that's a fun little thing too, whether it's like a Disney Springs or Typhoon Lagoon, or if you have like a party or like a late night, like a dinner reservation somewhere and you want to do something different. I think that a water park is a perfect like 4-hour thing if it had to be that you could fit in like a morning, like go there when it opens, get all the stuff done, have some food and lounge a bit, and then go like in the lazy river or the wave pool, I think is a perfect day. And for the wave pool, you can be like Tommy and Heidi and go way out there, or you can be like me and Haley and kind of chill back and just
Heidi
enjoy.
lives in like the underneath the rope section.
I love it. Except last time we did it opposite, where we went and did all the stuff and then went into the wave pool, and I kind of felt like I was going to drown because I was very tired. So maybe start at the wave pool.
I was trying to be a trooper and keep up with Heidi, and I was definitely struggling a little bit, trying to keep calm and look cool and be like, yeah, no, this is fun. Yeah, but definitely after riding all those rides, that was a little bit pooped. But.
Yeah, if you're trying to have a relaxing day, you choose what Brandon and I do. If you're trying to have an adventurous day, you do what Tommy and Heidi does.
And I was also going to say that some of the rides, like just to touch on them, are no joke. Like Crush and Gusher is a very like intense water roller coaster. Like it's very cool how they do it. I think that's like really fun. And I am sad that Blizzard Beach isn't open because I do know that they have cool stuff. And I said this I think before, which I could never do it now because I'm far too big and a grown adult. But like as a kid, they have like a thing with like the like ice blocks and you grab like a rope and you climb across. And I would love to do that. I know that I can't at this age be going to the kiddie area and climbing on like ropes and stuff. But it's just like I think a cool different vibe. And they got that big slide that's like basically like 90 degrees down.
Plummet,
yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff. And I do like to kind of tie all that in that I do like love how it's very unique and different from Disney like IP, how it's like, oh, these alligators wanted a ski resort and then it melted. I think it's so like, that's so genius and so funny to me.
Yeah, I think that, like tying just even to the alligators, like that is like kind of the stuff that everyone claims to miss from places like Epcot is kind of that park specific, theming and storytelling is in abundance in both of the water parks. So even if you're just kind of bopping around and maybe you're not a water slide person necessarily, like I still think that there's like a ton of value there, and just getting kind of that big hit of just park sort of Imagineering sort of thing. But yeah, I love them. I think the best rides, so the big three that I pointed out, Misadventure Falls, Crush and Gusher, and Summit Plummet, like those three are probably not top 10 at all of Walt Disney World, but I think they could firmly be like top 15 overall across all of the attractions, at all the parks. So it's definitely something, if you're going to be in Walt Disney World this summer, we all strongly encourage it. It gets the Park Squad Pod stamp of approval. Definitely try it out. Take our word for it. You won't be disappointed. And if you are, I'll personally apologize.
If you are, don't tell us.
Yeah.
We don't want to know if you don't like it because we like it so much.
Yeah.
Don't taint it for us.
No. And family rides are so fun because there's not really another time at Disney World where you get to like really be together, like with your group and your party and get to experience it all at the same time, except for like, what's it called? Animal Kingdom, Cali River Rapids.
But even then you're
but then, and like I don't go on that because I don't want to be wet at like a dry park. And so like, I don't know. If you haven't watched our vlog on Brandon and Heidi's channel of this day at the water park, you need to go do it because I think that if us talking about it didn't sell you on going for the day, that will.
Yeah.
And the grids that are plastered on our faces the whole video.
Yeah.
I'll leave it linked in the little description here of this video.
Absolutely.
So it's easy access. But I was going to say that if if we can all get in that family raft ride, we're all like pretty tall enough humans. I think that it's gonna be fun. Like we on the one hit so high up that like water has never touched up there before on the one.
No, it was
Yeah,
dry.
there should be like a little marker, like the high water mark for where we rode it, and it should be kind of
Yeah.
enshrined in history because no one's ever hitting that mark ever
Yeah,
again.
exactly. Like when you like measure kids'
a
heights
door.
on the
Yeah, I was
door.
gonna
Yeah,
say.
exactly. Yeah, it's like when the tide comes in, it's like this is as high as the raft is gonna hit on the half pipe.
No, Brandon, I was gonna say that like if you're adults watching this and you think that like maybe you have 2 kids and you think all 4 of you can't fit, you
Oh.
absolutely can fit. Even if you're 4 grown-ups, you can fit. Like
If
we
we
are
could fit,
4
you could fit, yeah.
like
Above average. sizing.
correct. We are
Yeah.
above
Some
average
of us
height.
exceedingly above average.
So if we can fit, you can fit. Just squeeze on in there.
Yeah.
You might be embarrassed because it's like 1 mom and 1 6-year-old, and then it's you 4 adults, but
Hey.
just go past that and it's worth it.
It'll be
We'll
worth it.
send.
Exactly. Great. Well, really excited. It's going to be a fun summer full of Disney things. Obviously we're bi-weekly, but we'll be checking in every 2 weeks with some more fun summer developments. If you're going to be in Walt Disney World this summer, like we said, we strongly encourage you to check out the water parks. But if you do check out either Tiana's Bayou Adventure or Disney Dreams That Soar at Disney Springs, please let us know your thoughts. Would love to hear from everyone kind of what the general consensus is. And then obviously, if you're going to be hitting the movies, definitely try and check out the 2 that we talked about, Deadpool as well as Inside Out 2. Would love to get, people's thoughts on that as well. But yeah, this has been our sort of summer preview. You can find us during the summer every 2 weeks on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, as well as YouTube. We'll be dropping episodes, every 2 weeks until we're back on our regular scheduled weekly programming after D23. But you can find us at all of those places. You can also find us on Instagram, all of those at the Park Squad Pod. And until next time, thanks for hanging out with us.
Bye.
This has been so great. I love it.
The squad's
Bye.
back.
The squad is back.
Back, baby.
Woo!